Hello, my name is Marsha Norris Knudsen, and I am an accidental author. I never really intended to write a book, but now that I have, I consider it one of my greatest accomplishments. Let me share with you my journey into authorship. 63 years after my father served in the Navy, I discovered an old family trunk filled with memorabilia from the 1940s and recreated my parents' World War II adventure in a book titled Sailor's Mail. Now that the book is finished, I'm speaking to clubs, civic organizations, and historical societies to encourage other people to save their memories, preserve the past, honor the present, and leave a legacy. I would like to share with you a short excerpt from a program that I give titled Memory Keepers Leave Legacies. As a young girl growing up, I never thought of my parents as extraordinary people, but they were. My father never thought of himself as a hero, but he was. He was a hero because he did the right thing. When his country called for men to serve in World War II, he volunteered for the Navy. He didn't want to leave his young wife and go to war, but he did. And my mother decided if he had the courage to serve his country, she had the courage to wait for him. Oh, but she did a lot more than just wait. I never realized how much my parents sacrificed, but they did. For many years, I took my father's military service for granted, probably because he took it for granted. Like many veterans, he never talked about the war. When it was over, he put it behind him and never looked back. But for some unknown reason, my mother saved all their war memories in a big black steamer trunk. When my parents passed from this earthly life, I inherited the trunk and became the keeper of their memories. For as long as I can remember, that old trunk had been stored in my parents' attic. Mother always said it contained stuff from the war. But when I opened the trunk and really looked inside, I couldn't believe the treasures that I found. There were photograph albums filled with over 400 little black and white pictures, many of them taken by my father and sent home from the Pacific Islands. There were scrapbooks that my mother filled with telegrams, greeting cards, train tickets, maps. But the neatest thing I found in that trunk was a box of over 200 old letters, postmarked 1943 to 45. Some had obviously been read many times, all neatly refolded and in their original envelopes. When I looked at the handwriting on one of the envelopes, I realized these were my father's letters home. These were my mother's love letters. I picked up one of the letters, postmarked March 13th of 1943, and began reading about my father's boot camp experience. My darling, I received your package of candy about 30 minutes ago. Sure is good, couldn't be better. I'm not passing it around like I did the cake. It didn't last 5 minutes, but this is going to last longer. There's 30,000 sailors here. There's a swell lot of men from every state in the Union. I'm sure proud of Missouri now. I didn't know it was such a good state. I think we go to the lake tomorrow to learn how to row boats the Navy way. There are 3 ways to do anything: right way, wrong way, and the Navy way. We have a radio in the barracks now. I hear the war news every night. I don't see how this war is going to get over very soon, but maybe the Lord will help us end it. What I want is to come back home and live and raise a family. It's about bedtime, so I'll close for now. Lots of love and kisses from your dear husband, Homer. P.S. Did you know I love you? Ha ha, S.W.A.K, which means he sealed the envelope with a kiss. By the end of the second letter, I was hooked. I belonged to a memoir writing group at the time, and that week I was so busy reading letters that I didn't write any memoirs. So I read one of Daddy's letters to the group. They loved it, wanted to hear more, and then they wanted to know what Ruth was doing while Homer was away. I didn't know, and so I went back to the trunk and I pulled out a diary with the name Ruth embossed on the cover. I picked up my mother's diary and began reading entries that she wrote when she was 19 years old, before marriage, before the war. May 25th, 1941. Homer is simply wild about me. I imagine we will be married right away. We look forward to seeing each other all the time. June 23rd. This was the most important birthday in my life. I got my diamond ring. August 2nd. Worked until late. I couldn't believe that tomorrow was to be my wedding day. I couldn't sleep. The night before her wedding day, she's so excited she can't sleep. These entries didn't sound like my mother. These were the entries of a young Ruth Marie. I was going to have the rare opportunity to get to know my parents when they were in their 20s, and I was only a twinkle in their eye. Each week, my writing group was eager to hear the next installment in the adventures of Homer and Ruth. For a long time, I couldn't figure out why anyone else would care so much about my parents' war story. And then one day, a fellow writer wisely explained, "This isn't just a war story, it's a love story. You should write a book." And so I did. Writing Sailor's Mail allowed me to meet Homer Lee Norris and Ruth Marie Yancey, high school sweethearts, whose lives almost followed a well-known children's song. You know the one. Ruth and Homer settin' in the tree, Kissing. First comes love, then comes marriage, then comes baby in the baby carriage. Had they married at a different time, this song might have been the scenario for their lives. But 1941 was not a normal year, and their lives went the way of many young couples. First came love, then came marriage, then came World War II. Homer and Ruth married in August of 1941 and set up a small farming operation. They were blissfully happy. 4 months later, the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor and the United States found itself in the middle of World War II. They had to sell everything so Homer could go to war. Ruth finally found a job 30 miles from her family and rented a small apartment in Hannibal, Missouri. World War II had just become personal. My parents were changed by the war, and by sharing their journey, I too am forever changed. The book truly is a testament to the power of love and one man's determination to survive the war and come back home to his beautiful wife. She truly was the love of his life. I hope that Sailor's Mail will encourage other people to tell their own stories and also become memory keepers. My website, sailorsmail.net, gives free articles and resources so that you can learn how to preserve the past, honor the present, and leave a legacy. My husband teases me that it's taken me almost as long to write the book as it took the Allies to win the war, and he's right. But for a long time I wasn't ready to be finished writing because it gave me time to grieve for the loss of my parents. Every time I held one of Daddy's letters or Mother's diary, it was like having a little visit with them. The contents of their trunk allowed us to have one more glorious adventure together. By sharing their memories, I have fallen in love with my parents all over again. As long as I remember, they're never really gone. Thank you for listening today. And if you are interested in purchasing autographed copies of the book, or if you would like to schedule a program, please contact me. I'd love to hear from you. And remember, if one day you run across an old trunk or a box of old photographs or letters, then that means that upon you has been bestowed the title Memory Keeper. Do not take your responsibilities lightly, because you just might discover that the contents of that trunk is priceless, and it may take you on the adventure of a lifetime, and you might also become an accidental author. Thank you so much, and goodbye for now.